the debate rages on what the Chicago Bears should do with the number 1 overall pick. You have some people that are of the mindset that the Bears should keep the pick and maybe even draft a quarterback. You have some that say they should keep the pick and just draft Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, leave it at that. You got some that say they should trade down. There's a lot of different things that people are saying what should the Bears should do with that number 1 overall pick. We're going to talk about some of those options, some of those things that have been saying out there. We're also going to answer the question of, is D-Hop the perfect offseason acquisition for the Chicago Bears to add to their wide receiver core? We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number 1 place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans. And so it's so funny to see the Bears in the conversation so much in the national media right now, considering how little we got talked about during the season, unless it was negative things thrown towards the Chicago Bears way. But right now, the debate is raging on every one of these national media platforms on what the Chicago Bears should do when it comes to the number 1 overall pick. Now, you get some, like Tannenbaum, who says that the Bears should draft Bryce Young and trade Justin Fields. Skip Bayless is also in that. Chad Forbes also is saying that Justin Fields is not a franchise level quarterback. And usually most of these conversations are built around the fact of how good or not Justin Fields has been as a passing quarterback in the NFL. And so it raises the question on what should the Bears do with this number 1 overall pick. Now, you guys know I'm of the mindset I don't think the Bears move on from Justin Fields, but it raises the question on, if the Bears were to decide to move on from Justin Fields, what could that possibly look like? What could it look like? What could that mean and signal for the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, and kind of overall what they do with this roster? Now, the merits of it are this. If the Bears front office does see Bryce Young or any other quarterback being a true franchise level quarterback, if they see it and they look at the guy and says, this is the guy that is not only going to be a franchise quarterback, this is the guy who we can build a championship team around, it's going to be hard for the front office to then decide to not move on. Now, we've heard all the right things from Ryan Poles and everything on Justin Fields, but it's one of the more interesting situations to be in. And most of the times when you have a franchise level quarterback, you don't end up with the number 1 overall pick. Now, some of that does happen with that. And I'm not of the mind, let me be clear here, I'm presenting this conversation as a nature of just that. It's just conversation. I don't think the Bears should move on from Justin Fields, but there's enough noise being made around it that I think it'd be remiss not to talk about it at least a little bit, right? Now, the Justin Fields situation, the most similar situation to that is Josh Rosen, who was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals in 2018. The Cardinals then end up with the top pick in the 2019 draft. They draft Kyler Murray. They end up trading Josh Rosen, who Josh Rosen has gone on and done a lot of nothing in his NFL career since then. Now, the difference between this, that's the situation that's most like the Justin Fields situation, right? It's still not exactly like it, because the difference between Josh Rosen and Justin Fields is that Justin Fields has shown an ability to be a damn good quarterback, right? Passing wise, I understand that it's been up and down passing wise. He got over 2,000 yards passing this season, but he's a dynamic quarterback that has shown he can be one of, if not the most exciting player in the NFL. And so it raises an even more question, especially for a franchise that has not had a great quarterback. So when you sit there and you look at it and evaluate it like this, while a lot of Bears fans, me included, are attached to Justin Fields, we want to see Justin Fields succeed on this team. We want to see him be the dynamic player that he can be. And then we want to see this really develop, to see what he can develop into as far as a franchise quarterback. Now, we said it coming into the season, that was the biggest question on the board for the Chicago Bears. Is Justin Fields a true franchise level quarterback? Now, some of us, like me, thinks that we got the answer to that. Some have been left very kind of wish-washy or kind of so-so on Justin Fields as a quarterback in the NFL, and how much can you win with a quarterback that has seen at least more success on the ground than he has had at a passer on the NFL level. So with those questions surrounding it, it remains to be seen. And then what could you get back for Justin Fields? But I'll tell you what, and this is where I'm going to hang my hat on with this, is whatever the front office does, they better get this right. This is the type of decision that you aren't envious of a front office to be in, because here you have it. Yes, you can trade out of that first round pick, get a bunch of talent back, and hopefully that talent ends up working out. The Bears have a successful season, and then people are going to be so happy and engaged in what the Bears are doing. that it just sits there. But I tell you what, if the Bears do trade out of this number 1 overall pick and whoever gets it drafts Bryce Young and he turns into a great quarterback, you're always going to be compared to that. No matter what Justin Fields does, his success is always going to be compared to what Bryce Young ends up doing if the Bears do trade out of that. Again, I'm saying the if word because I'm trying not to project my own thoughts and desires for the team on this conversation, but it does leave that. And so for front office, they need to get this decision right. So between now and the draft and free agency and everything else that the Bears have going on for themselves, this has to be one of the things that is not only going to be at the forefront of Ryan Poles' mind, but also now Kevin Warren, right? We know he may not be involved in the day-to-day football operations or whatever may seem to happen there, but keep in mind, with as much change as going on with the Chicago Bears from now over the course of the next handful of years as they move to Arlington Heights, all those things, this may be the most important decision that the Chicago Bears, and I'll tell you what, this is probably going to be the most important decision Ryan Poles is ever going to make as the GM of the Chicago Bears. Ever. And it may not seem like that. It may be one of those things that we overlook. We could absolutely trade out of that first round pick. Bryce Young goes on to get drafted by the Colts, whoever else. He has an okay season. Justin Fields, or okay career, or a solid career. Justin Fields has a great career. And we always kind of be like, well, what if? But this is one of the most, because if they don't get this right, if Justin Fields ends up not turning into the franchise level quarterback that many of us see in him, and Bryce Young goes on to be one of the best quarterbacks of, I won't say of a generation, but in no matter what, and God forbid, if Bryce Young leads his team to a Super Bowl before the Chicago Bears get to one, or they still are looking like a fledgling team in the NBA, in the NFL, oh my God, those comparisons are always going to be there. And the same goes the other way. If they were to trade Justin Fields, gets a bunch of assets back, draft Bryce Young, go forward with him as their quarterback, whatever else, it's always going to be compared to Justin Fields. This is the most important decision that Ryan Poles is probably ever going to make because it dictates the future of the Chicago Bears franchise. So while the conversation is going around, what should he do? What's this? What's that? Let's keep in mind, as easy as it is for us to sit back, be armchair GMs and everything, this is a decision that Ryan Poles has to go over with a fine-tooth comb, every single detail. Him, his staff, the coaches, everything. They are going to be going through all the projections and everything from now, for the next couple of months, from now until the draft. This is not an easy decision as it seems. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Ryan Poles does already have his mind made up. And if he does, he's a better man than me, because I tell you what, while I don't want to see the Bears trade Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields. I have to also admit how much of my attachment to Justin Fields is because, yes, he's on my team, but also because he represents our best chance at having a franchise quarterback that we've had in my lifetime. So and as a GM, you have to remove yourself from that. And so we'll see what happens, what that turns into. But this decision, when you look at it being Bryce Young, trading the pick, trading Justin Fields, whatever it could turn into, is going to be the most important decision that Ryan Poles makes as a GM, and is going to inform the rest, at least 5 to 8 years, maybe a decade long. That's how important it is to get the right decision when you're talking about betting your franchise on a quarterback. So we'll see what that ends up turning into. But another decision that the Bears may very well have to make in this offseason is trading for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, it's been said and rumored and everything's out now that it's expected that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be moving on from D-Hop, that they are going to be shopping him. And so when you look at that and what that could mean for the future there, I tell you what, like I said before, and I say this again, it's not an envious position to be in at all, because you make this decision if you do trade it, and while the Bears have a ton of cap space, right? And D-Hop still has, let me get my information up to make, he still has 2 years and $34 million left on his contract. So even though it's not super long-term money, right? You can take a bet on D-Hop, and if it doesn't work out, it's a 2-year bet. And you know, with the NFL, you can get out of contracts a lot easy, right? But with the rumors and the sources that are saying that the Cardinals do plan to try and move D-Hop, I still, much like I said with the Bryce Young, Justin Fields thing, you almost have to explore it a little bit. Now, I don't think that it's likely. I don't think that the Bears do something. I've said it before. They may not go after or do some things with the wide receiver position that some people may think. But if you have a player that's available in trade, and if you can avoid this year's draft compensation, maybe move that to next year, or God forbid, if the Bears do trade down, depending on what they get for draft compensation, they can look to flip some of that into D-Hop, bring him in, still get their guy, whether it be Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and then move forward that way. But I tell you what, while I know there are some character concerns and some off the field issues with D-Hop that you have to look at and think about, you can't deny that he is a player, 30 years old right now. He turns 32 in June, so he'll be 32 before the season starts. But this is a player that comes in and, while maybe not be your number one right away, depending on what you think about Mooney, he comes in and provides a weapon for Justin Fields that we need. In this season, only in 9 games this season, keep in mind, 9 games played. If he was on the Chicago Bears with these numbers, he would have led the team in receiving yards, which Cole Kmet ended up doing. But in 9 games, he had 64 receptions for 717 yards and 3 touchdowns. Season before that, he played 10 games, got 42 receptions, 572 yards with 8 touchdowns. And the biggest in his career, he's had 13 is the highest number of touchdowns he's had in his career. That's in 2017 with Houston. But again, he represents something that you can brings a skill set that you may not have with other players on here. But I look at it and say, you have 6'1" D-Hop at that point. You have Darnell Mooney, and you got Chase Claypool. You can do much worse than having 3 players like that. Now, again, you guys know how I feel about T. Higgins, but that's a story for another day. But with it being expected that he's going to be available in this offseason, the Bears have to explore it, in my opinion. What ends up coming of that, I don't know if he's the perfect wide receiver for this system. And again, even us talking about that may completely change if the Bears do decide to get crazy and draft a quarterback. I guess we'll see. It all remains to be seen on what the Bears are going to do with that, but it's Friday, so that means it's also a mailbag day. So I don't get to yap all the time. We're going to go ahead and play this first voicemail. This one's from Rory.
What up, Haize? It's your boy Rory, man. We got the number 1 spot in the draft, man. I am so happy, bro. Man, hey, judging by polls, what he did last draft, the few picks that we had in the draft, and he turned into 11 overall, picks. Man, that's crazy, man. So he controls to complete the whole draft. You know what I'm saying? And judging by what Poles did with that move that he did last draft, man, come on, man. He's very strategic. You know what I'm saying? So, man, just watch out, man. I know this draft's going to be like, he can't mess this up. I know he ain't going to hit on all the draft, you know what I'm saying, on all the picks. But like you said, he got more bites at the apple now. You know what I'm saying? And who do y'all think, who do you think that, what area of our team needs immediate attention? I mean, every area needs attention, but I'm saying your number 1 priority. Is it offense or defense? I mean, to me, it's offense. You know what I'm saying? That offensive line. You got to get the offensive line in some kind of order, man, because we got to keep, Justin Fields upright and healthy so he can go through his reads and his progressions. Then I address that front 7, you know what I'm saying? They can stuff the run, get a couple of edge rushes and everything. I mean, we can get that in the draft. That's cool, too, you know what I'm saying? But I said that the offensive line, man, that got to be number 1 priority. And get him some weapons, man, some receivers. But, Haize, I heard you say, we might not get the receivers that we want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, but anything, can help. You know what I'm saying? Because we do got some talent on our team with Claypool and Mooney. You know what I'm saying? So, and Velus, he's coming along. Velus Jones coming along pretty good, man. It's like getting his hands together. We'll see what old drops he do. You know what I'm saying, man? But let me know what y'all think, man, what Poe's going to do. And what y'all think was the number 1 priority. That offensive line or defense. Holler at your boy.
All right, and Rory's extremely excited about the Chicago Bears having the number 1 overall pick this season. And so I'm going to piggyback off what he ended it on. What is the most important area for improvement this offseason for the Bears? I think you hit the nail on the head. The offensive line and defensive lines. I know you mentioned wide receiver before that, but I'm putting the offensive line and defensive line as my number 1 and number 2 priority in this offseason. That be it draft, free agency, whatever. You have to improve that no matter who your quarterback is, right? And again, I'm talking about this from the nature of the conversation we had earlier. I think it's going to be still Justin Fields here. I think it should be. But again, I'm just a podcaster at my house recording. So it is what it is. But regardless, if it is Bryce Young, if it is Justin Fields, you have to protect that quarterback. You have to give them time. So it has to be that offensive line, but then you look at the defensive line, getting some players in here who can put pressure on the quarterback. The Bears defense, if you took that defense and what they were able to do in the secondary, being pretty good in the secondary, right? Rush defense was terrible. We weren't able to put pressure on the quarterback. If you can improve that front seven to do those things, the secondary you already have here has shown what you can do with not getting pressure on the quarterback. Imagine if you put quarterbacks in worse situations and you have the secondary that performed the way that it did this past season. That's a dangerous defense. And I've said it before. I think that this defense could be a potential top 10 defense in the league, depending on if they make the necessary moves this offseason. So with that being said, I got to say the offensive line, defensive line, and then, getting weapons for Justin Fields. But again, they may look at it and say, if we improve the offensive line and give Justin Fields more time, how much more dangerous do the weapons we already have on this team are? So we'll see what goes. But that's my answer to that. Thank you for leaving the voicemail, Rory. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Leroy.
Yeah, my name is Leroy Haize. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm a deep-hearted Bears fan. I badass. Look, the Bears, they need to keep Fields, keep working with him. He's going to work on completing his passes more than running. He's really running like a running back. He's getting more yards than a running back. But that's a good thing. But on a bad thing, he got to start completing more passes downfield. And he can do that. He can do it. He just need to keep working at it. But what we Bears need to do, get him a couple of receivers, good ones, just like the Eagles did when Jalen Hurts got out there. He was terrible, but they got him DeAndre Smith and they got him Brown. So, and they took it from there. And everybody else, like the line, they can work on that, get a little more blocking. And defense, they do need to take $700 million and get 3 good defensive backs, not no small ones. Somebody about 6'4", 6'5", that can run. A couple of linebackers and some people up front that can pass rush. These guys around the league going to be looking for a job because they're going to be leaving them high-powered teams. You got Odell Beckham out there. You know, you got a couple of people you can call and talk to and see if they're interested in that $100 million salary cap they got. They can bring in people around them, but keep them. Don't give up the draft picks for them. Go ahead, keep him, work him out. Bryce Young really is small. He has a little problem seeing downfield, and if you don't get receivers and get a line and stuff like that, he's going to have the same identical problem as Fieldhead. You're going to have to put some people around him. Keep it, but bring some people around him. That's what Aaron Rodgers was trying to work on there. He's good as he is. He needs some excellent receivers like DeAndre Smith and them guys. You know, Dante Adams. Them guys he got, they okay, but they not nothing like that. You know, Odell Beckham out there looking for a team. Call him. See what's happening here. I'm the kind of person, you want to talk to A.J. Brown? Hey, give him a call. You never know. Get him to commit. But they need to keep Fields and go ahead and get some defensive backs, especially the defensive back and on defense. They need a defense coordinator, too. Somebody who can get some pass for the more soft zones he's playing. They're just eating that stuff up, all them points people scoring. 14 losses. That come on the defense. Can't stop nobody. You know, offense score all day, but if they get back on the field and the defense can't stop nobody, all that money is going away. So, yeah, start there. But they do need to work on that. Keep Fields, let him keep working, and get 2-3 great receivers around the league, whether it's a draft pick or go buy some power. Y'all got the money now. And remember, tell them to have fun when they play from now on, and don't forget the bad.
Bears fan, he says the Bears need to keep Fields, and I'm very much in that same mindset. I know it's going to be a question that's asked all this offseason and the future around Justin Fields, and internally, like I said, they have to explore every single option. That's the way that I feel with this team. You have to explore every single option because this is going to be one of the most important decisions that you make as a franchise on betting on somebody as your franchise quarterback. So while the Bears do that and they mull that over, I still do think Justin Fields is going to end up being the guy, but I could be wrong. And be prepared. If the Bears end up drafting Bryce Young and trading Justin Fields, be on the lookout because the content at that point is going to be on fire. But yeah, I agree with everything that you said in there. We need to increase the pass rush. We need a definitely better pass rush. That's why in the last voicemail I said that would have been one of my top concerns as well, and things that this front office needs to address this offseason. And so when it just all boils down to it, it's this. This team has so many weapons at their disposal to improve this team. Or so many assets, I guess is the better word to use in that case, to improve this team. Number 1 overall pick. Tons of draft picks. We've already seen what Ryan Poles can do with flipping and getting more picks. The amount of free agent cap space that we're going to have to bring in marquee free agents to this team. You got all that going on. I've said this before, and I don't say this meaning it to be hyperbole. This is going to be, and I already said it with the number 1 overall pick, but outside of that, even without that, this is the most important offseason in my life as the Chicago Bears fan. I'm 36 years old. Because of just everything that they can do possibly this offseason. And if you structure the deals right, if you do things right, yeah, he's not going to hit on every single one of them. But it's huge for this team and what they need to do to improve it. And hopefully this time next season, we're not talking about our offseason plans and draft picks in January. Hopefully at that point next season, we're actually talking about a playoff run. And that's what I hope for this Bears team. But that's it for me for today. Make sure you're following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. Like I like to end every episode on. Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.